On Stampede, our esports program kicked off their first tournament right here on campus.
Beloved community member and former Eastside principal Josh Wandell recently passed away after a long battle with ALS.
Dr. Padilla DeBourse visited campus to talk about the mission of the church.
Are you struggling with anxiety or depression? There are now group therapy sessions that meet on campus.
Plus, we sit down with Patrick Lyons in our Making a Difference segment, and he tells us about his semester abroad.
In sports, the men's and women's basketball team gear up for the AAC tournament.
These stories and more are coming up next.
StampedeTV begins now.
Welcome to Stampede TV. I'm Kayla Baker.
And I'm Brandon Smith. Milligan hosted their inaugural esports tournament on February 22nd and 23rd. Here's Chief Editor AJ Trebold with more details.
Grab your controller and put on your headset, because it's off to the video game world for Milligan and the surrounding area. On February 21st and 22nd, Milligan College hosted their first on-campus esports tournament. Milligan's esports team has been competing against teams from all over the country, including Texas, Alabama, and South Carolina. Over the weekend, they welcomed teams from ETSU, King University, UT, and members of the community to compete in Gregory Theater. There are 5 main categories of competition among 3 different games: 1v1 and 2v2 in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, 1v1 and 3v3 in Rocket League, and the main event being League of Legends. Micah Ridley, the coach for Milligan's esports team, graduated from Milligan in 2011. Ridley was very happy to finally have his team playing against live players in front of an audience.
So yeah, it's great being able to play in front of our fans and you know, them in front of their peers. It's a great experience for everybody. So, you know, it's one of the fastest growing, if not the fastest growing game, and or games, because it's more than one. But it's something that's going to continue to grow, and you're going to see, you know, right now there's over 300 official varsity programs, and that's just growing each year. It's becoming more and more.
The competition was made possible by the conjoined efforts of Milligan College partnering with Sharp, an IT company that deals with advanced tech on a day-to-day basis.
So with us being an IT company, we felt like it was a perfect fit for us to be involved in esports because it's an upcoming, popular, competitive sport. And so we just wanted to go ahead and get in on it because we know it's going to be huge. And we want people to be able to associate us with whatever their technology needs are, we can help them.
With tryouts and summer camps coming up soon, the gaming life will continue to be a strong part of the collegiate sport life at Milligan. This has been AJ Trebold, Stampede TV.
For current updates on the esports team, be sure to follow them on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and also catch them streaming on Twitch. Dr. Josh Wandell, former Eastside Elementary principal, recently passed away after a long battle with ALS.
Wandell passed away on February 15th at the age of 41. He was loved by the entire community and spoke about ALS awareness in Seeger Chapel. A funeral service was held Saturday at Elizabethan High School to celebrate his bravery, perseverance, and faith over fear.
Every time that man spoke, whether it be 550 kids or a small group, there was an impact.
Wandell left a lasting impact on the community, and his family will continue to be an advocate for those with ALS.
Hopwood Church recently hosted one of the 3 Mission of the Church lectures. The title of the lecture was Christian Mission, Pizza or Whole Grain Bread, given by Dr. Ruth Padilla DeBrost. The unique name was used as a metaphor to show the openness that Christian missionaries should have. Dr. Padilla DeBrost also explained the important role that Christians have and the call to action found in the faith. Dr. Padilla DeBrost shared some of her thoughts after the lecture concluded.
The message is important because for far too many people, Christianity is just a superficial label, and it doesn't really make any difference in our personal lives or in the life of the place where we are living. And the gospel has to impact, otherwise it's not good news. And gospel means good news. If it's going to be good news, it has to be good news.
Padilla DeBorst hopes that her faith will continue to grow alongside the faith of the community she works with.
It's almost that time for that big party, and SGA needs your vote for this year's theme. Students can follow the link from their email to vote on their favorite theme. That big party will take place on April 17th. SGA will announce the theme and location at Buff's Got Talent Saturday, February 29th inside the Gregory Center at 7:30. There is a $1 admission, but that is to help fund that big party.
The Counseling Center is now offering a new program called Wellness Together. The program will include group therapy sessions on relationships, sadness, anxiety, stress, and relaxation. The group met for the first time last week, and meetings will continue until April 7th. The group is led by former Milligan student Montgomery Allgood and counselor Kevin Cummings. Meetings takes place Tuesdays at 11 a.m. in the Taylor Phillips House. For more information, please contact the Counseling Center at 423-461-8500 or send them an email.
All students are invited to join Sunday games hosted in Sub 7 on Sundays at 3 p.m. This is something for everyone with a wide variety of board games and card games. Students can come and go as they please and have the opportunity to take part in tournaments and win prizes. Campus Activity Director Jason Onks encourages students to join the fun. After the break, Patrick Lyons joins us for our Making the Difference segment.
Find out what he learned while he studied overseas. Stay tuned.
Here's to the things that can keep us safe. Those we use all the time with hardly a thought. Those that are silently standing by to save our lives. And now, those that we carry with us everywhere we go. Many mobile devices will now bring you wireless emergency alerts, real-time information directly from local sources you know and trust. With the unique sound and vibration, you'll be in the know wherever you are.
To our first Making the Difference segment of the semester. Today, Patrick Lyons joins us and tells us that how he has been making a difference while studying abroad. Great to have you here, Patrick.
Thanks. It's nice to be here.
So I have a couple questions for you today. The first is I wanted to ask how the community in Marca Jordan influences current events. And I wanted to ask you briefly how that impacted your stay.
Yeah, so I had the opportunity while studying abroad to volunteer with a refugee group in Marca, Jordan. They host a lot of Christian, Syrian, and Iraqi refugees, especially a lot of families with young children. And now this definitely ties in well with current events because these families are fleeing direct persecution from groups like ISIS and other very militant groups, focused specifically on targeting religious minorities like these Christians. A lot of these Christians have been part of that faith for generations. It's very much a part of who they are. And as such, they're a very core part of the church history that we don't hear very much about. They're often just numbers on a board. So to be there and to listen to them and to hear their stories was very impactful.
Another quick question. What was daily life like for you living in Jordan?
Yeah, so, it's a very different place than it is here. It's a lot hotter. But most of my time I spent taking photography for this group. I have a little bit of experience in photography, and I use that to take promotional photos for them. I would take a lot of product photos as well. They make products to sell around the world to help support their work. So I would take pictures of a lot of their different products in a studio setting, and then I would also go and take photos of these refugees worshiping and interacting. And I would spend time in their school as well. They have a lot of children, mostly learning English, and taking pictures of them playing and learning. It was a lot of work.
So how is church worship different in an Arabic-speaking church?
Yeah, so I had the great privilege to worship with them every single week when I was there. The entire service is in Arabic. There's not any English. They don't speak any English. It's not their native tongue, so it makes sense. It is a little disconcerting to be worshiping in a place where you don't hear all the words you're used to hearing. And to see this script as well that you're not used to reading. It's not something that you're comfortable with. But recognizing in a level of humility that this service wasn't for me, it was for them and for their weekly work and worship together. I was really able to approach it with a mindset that these are my fellow brothers and sisters in Christ, and I was privileged enough to be worshiping in their time.
And did you meet anyone over there that had an impact on you and your faith?
Yeah, quite a few. There was specifically one of the children in the school, one of the younger ones. He couldn't have been more than 5 or 6. And he had a lot of developmental disabilities as well. He had a hard time hearing and interacting with the younger kids. So he was very standoffish for most of the time while I was there. But a couple of months in, he started to get used to me, to seeing me in the classroom and on the playground, taking pictures for their website. And eventually, the second to last time that I was there taking photos, he stopped avoiding me, he stopped hiding, and he just came up and he sat right next to me. And he let me take his picture. And having that opportunity to just interact on a very basic level with this kid who's already experienced so much more than many of us ever will, a lot of trauma, it was very powerful.
That's quite remarkable. One last question for you. Did your political science studies help you find compassion for the Syrian refugees?
I think definitely. I will also say, though, that it's not hard to feel compassion for them. I think really anyone from any educational background would definitely feel that way. But as I mentioned earlier, I think the fact here is that we often just see these figures, these numbers of this many people displaced and this many people forced out of their homes. And because it's on the other side of the world, we don't really understand. So I had studied this in the classroom. I had studied this refugee crisis that's been going on for a number of years now. But actually being there and talking to them and hearing their stories and looking at them while they told me about their homes and their professions and their family who they lost, it really better informed the way that I view my studies and the way I view the world as well.
Well, thank you for coming into the studio to answer a few questions. And that's all of the time that we have for this edition of Making the Difference. If you know someone who is going above and beyond to make the difference, be sure to let us know.
This past week in sports saw the Milligan men's and women's basketball teams host St. Andrews for senior night. The baseball team split a 2-game series with Shawnee State. The softball team knocked off their season with a split series against King University, while the tennis team came up just short against nationally ranked Union. First, let's get to the latest scores of the week from basketball. The men's basketball team won a blowout home against AAC contestant St. Andrews University on Saturday. It was a special night for the seniors celebrating senior night as they combined for 72 points throughout the game. Milligan took control of this game early and never let up. They jumped out to a 41-24 lead going into the half, and in the second half, the Buffs continued on their hot first half, piling on 40 more points. Guard Bo Pless and forward Jacob Kaywood led the way offensively with 14 points each. The final score was 81-70 in favor of Milligan. The Buffs look to build on their momentum as they will head to Appalachian Athletic Tournament as the 3 seed to face Kentucky Christian University. This quarterfinal match will take place Thursday at 5:15 p.m. The Lady Buffs lost a close home match against St. Andrews University on Saturday. The Buffs had controlled for the majority of the game, but a late surge by St. Andrews proved to be too much for Milligan to overcome. Although Milligan had a high-scoring first half and were even up by 12 points at one point, during that half, St. Andrews was able to stay in the match, and despite Haley's Paget registering her 7th double-double of the season, the Buffs were unable to win their season finale. The final score of the match was 78-74 in favor of the visiting team. The women's team will also be back in action at the Appalachian Athletic Conference Tournament on Wednesday against conference rival Truett McConnell. The Lady Buffs defeated Truett earlier this season 74-58. Milligan's baseball team was also back in action this past weekend, taking on Shawnee State. The first game of the series, the Buffs were able to hold on for a close 3-2 win, and during this first game, pitcher Brock Browning pitched a complete game. In the second game, Shawnee State was able to overcome Milligan for their first win of the season. The final score of that game was 7-4. Milligan was able to keep that game close, but in the top of the fifth, Shawnee State was able to drive in 4 runs, giving them a lead Milligan was unable to overcome. Milligan take on Shawnee State again Sunday in a 3-game series at TVA Credit Union Ballpark in Johnson City. The Milligan softball team opened their season Sunday, February 23rd against King University. The 2-game series ended split at 1-1. The first game was a defensive struggle, ending 1-0 despite a solid performance from Milligan pitching. The team was just unable to find any luck on the offensive side of the game. The second game favored Milligan from the start. An explosive first inning that saw 4 runs driven in was all the Lady Buffs needed to earn their first win of the season. The inning saw RBIs by Laney Mays and Karsten Miller, along with a pair of errors that led to the 4 runs. In the 5th inning, King struck back with a 2-run home run, but it was not enough. The final score was 4-2. Up next for the Lady Buffs is a doubleheader away against Johnson University. Milligan's tennis team began conference play on Saturday when they took on nationally ranked Union College. Both the men's and women's teams came up short, falling 6-1 to the Bulldogs. On the men's side, Charlie Mosley was able to pick up the point for his team, and on the women's side, Rachel Dove was able to earn her team's sole point. The tennis teams will be back in action next Wednesday when they travel to Columbia, South Carolina to take on Columbia College. The track team was also in action this weekend in the Appalachian Athletic Conference Indoor Track and Field Championships. Junior Timothy Thacker was the AAC champion in the 1K, 800 meter, and mile during this competition. He also set AAC records in the 800 meter and the mile races. Due to his success, he was given his 3rd AAC Athlete of the Week honor. Overall, the men's team earned runner-up at the meet. The team as a whole had 13 conference titles and set 5 AAC records. Members of the track team that have qualified for indoor nationals will be back in action March 5th through 7th in Brookings, South Dakota. And that'll wrap us up this week for sports.
Thanks, Jordan.
And that's all for this edition of Stampede TV.
For the latest news and information, visit us online at milliganstampede.com.
Or check us out on social media.
Thanks for watching. I'm Kayla Baker.
And I'm Brendan Smith. Join us again for our next newscast on Wednesday, March 4th. Have a great rest of your day.